Have we found the real cause behind America's autism epidemic? Trump seems to think so, but the truth may not be what you think. Welcome to American Covered. I'm Chris Chappell. Today, we'll be covering a very sensitive medical topic. And YouTube really doesn't like it when we do that. I'm already getting PTSD flashbacks to the last time we talked about a big health issue affecting the country. Ugh. So, to get past demonetization, consider heading over to AmericanCovered.tv. There you'll get all of our episodes, exclusive deep dives, live streams, and a chance to talk with me and the team. You'll also be making sure I can keep paying my medical bills. That's AmericanCovered.tv. Now, on with the show. On Sunday, President Trump spoke at the public memorial service for Charlie Kirk, and he had some big news.
I think we found an answer to autism. How about that? Autism tomorrow.
Why did he say it like that? Play it again.
Autism tomorrow.
Autism tomorrow. I'm sorry. Trump quotes are my hyperfixation. Anyway, tomorrow came. And Trump held a press conference alongside Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr. And what they said will shock you. Well, maybe not if you're part of those crunchy alternative medicine and trad life mom groups on Facebook, but for the rest of us, shocking. Trump laid the blame for autism on none other than Tylenol.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol, during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good.
All right, let's not be mean here. Acetaminophen is a mouthful. And according to Trump, it's not just that mouthful of Tylenol that's giving your child autism, but vaccines too. Specifically, Trump took aim at the vaccine schedule.
But I think when you go for the shot, you do it over a 5-time period. You have a little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. It looks like they're pumping into a horse.
A vat? Is he just describing the plot of Fallout? Healthy, young vault dwellers go to Mariposa Military Base, get pumped with a massive shot of FEV, doesn't feel good, changes, super mutant, many such cases. Anyway, I'm not going to say whether or not Tylenol or vaccines contribute to autism. I'm not a scientist, and I'm only a doctor insofar as Dr. Teeth is a doctor. We both have music degrees. Now, it is true that Tylenol said back in 2017 that they don't actually recommend their products for pregnant women. But that hasn't stopped a bunch of pregnant women on TikTok downing Tylenol to own Trump. And thus, the next generation of Hearts of Iron 4 players was born. Now, there are some tentative studies showing a correlation between exposure to toxins and increased risk of autism, things like pesticides, air pollution, and certain drugs used to treat epilepsy. But most of the medical community, along with bigger, more robust studies on autism, say it's probably genetic. This research out of Sweden actually studied the risk of acetaminophen specifically, using a sample of almost 2.5 million children over a 24-year period, and it found no association between the drug, autism, ADHD, or intellectual disability. Another Swedish study, again with millions of participants, including twins, reiterated that autism mostly runs in families. But Chris, you ask, if that's true, then why have we seen autism cases explode in recent years? They must be putting something in the water. They're turning the frickin' frogs gay, and they're turning the kids into frickin' Chris Chan. Well, I hear what you're saying. According to the Southwest Autism Research and Resource Center, identified cases of autism in children have grown exponentially from around 1 in 150 in the year 2000 to 1 in 31 children as of 2022. In fact, the United States leads the world in diagnosed cases of autism, topping other developed countries like Canada, Sweden, Germany, and France. And it's no different in Asia, with America beating out countries like Japan and South Korea, which I just don't buy. If that were true, then why aren't we the kings of Evo? But regardless, what's going on with America? Why do we lead the world in autism? During the press conference, Trump said something that may give you a hint. Take a listen.
The Amish, as an example, they have essentially no autism. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism, okay? Tell me about that one.
Did you catch that? Cuba and the Amish have virtually no autism. But can we prove that? Is there a database we can look at? And who would you say is better at keeping statistics? The CDC or a broke communist dictatorship like Cuba? The government of Sweden or an insular group of 19th century farmers? You see what I'm getting at. A lot of this has to do with how autism cases are counted. That chart I referenced earlier, see how it starts shooting up right around 2004? That was around the time the CDC started putting a concrete number on the prevalence of autism that was way higher than people expected. This was also around the time the definition of autism started to expand. You see, in previous decades, the label of autism was reserved for only the most extreme cases. But today, it's seen as a spectrum, ranging from the debilitating nonverbal kind to people who are just kind of awkward and play a lot of strategy games. So it's not that American kids were getting more autistic, we were just expanding the definition of what autism meant, and so more people were being counted. But still, why do Americans report having autism so much more than, say, people in France? The answer is capitalism, baby! Okay, before you tear my head off, I'm not saying people are faking it to get money. I'm saying that America's free market healthcare system requires people to get a medical diagnosis in order to get access to things they, by all rights, should have. Healthcare in this country is expensive, and insurance companies and local governments will only pay out if you come with a doctor's note. If you need speech therapy, then you need a diagnosis. Public schools get extra resources for autistic students, but only if they're diagnosed. If you need some kind of reasonable accommodation in the workplace, well, you'd better get diagnosed. This is in contrast to many places in Europe where services are largely needs-based. Diagnoses can be good for record keeping, but it's not the key to unlocking services. A child with a speech delay can get access to therapy with or without the label. Universal public insurance means you don't have to pay out the nose for counseling. There are specialized classrooms and schools you can attend, free of charge. And all you need is a classroom assessment, not a medical diagnosis. The result is that the less severe cases of what we call autism are basically chalked up as personality quirks, so fewer people get counted under the broad medical definition. Now don't go thinking I'm just here to shill for universal health care. It has its own issues. We all know about the long waits, the rationing, the slowness to innovate. I mean, we all know how Canada likes to deal with these sorts of things. Sheesh. My point is, whatever causes autism probably isn't the reason we've seen cases go up as much as they have. It's the way we diagnose and treat people that's really driving things. And a lot of that comes down to, say it with me, the almighty dollar. But that's enough out of me. What do you think? Is Trump onto something, or is he way off base? How do you think we should handle autism in America? And is having 2,000 plus hours in Train Simulator really a bad thing? Let me know in the comments below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.